quick thank you to our sponsors for making this podcast possible. They keep this show free to listen to. Hey there, if you need a little help getting your kids the daily vitamins they need, I've got something to share that will help you as we all head back to school, and it fits easily into your morning routine. Between packing lunches, ensuring everyone's homework, and then navigating the morning hustle, getting our kids to take their vitamins can be a challenge. Well, let me introduce you to my new morning lifesaver, Little Critters Gummy Vitamins. Even my teenage daughters love them. Most kids think they're having a special treat, but I know they get the essential nutrients their growing bodies need. It's peace of mind for me and total yum for them, even if they don't admit it. Did you know Little Critters is the pediatrician recommended kids multivitamin gummy brand? It's true. And it's the perfect stress-free way to kick off the day. So why not make your mornings a little smoother? Shop Little Critters Gummy Vitamins now and start your school year off with a smile. Shop now at the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm Michelle, a mother of 2 teens. 13 years ago, I traded in punishments and rewards for connection. Now I prioritize relationship over behaviors, utilize play as a parenting tool, and set limits with empathy instead of consequences. Each week, I share my journey and interview clients, experts, and followers. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle, and I am lucky enough to have one of our beautiful community members who has graciously decided that she would share her story on our show. And so welcome to the show, Cammie. Would you like to tell people where you're calling in from?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. As you said, I'm Cammie, and I live in the Pacific Northwest, and that's where we had our 2 children, Archie, who's 6, and Flora, who's 2.
Yay. Well, we're so glad you came. How long have you been in our group program?
About 2 months now, I would say.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about your journey into connected parenting. If you can remember way back when you first found this ideology and you first found this method, how were things in your home? How did things feel? What was the parenting vibe? Tell me what it looked like.
Parenting vibe was okay. It was really me who was struggling. So Archie was actually a pretty chill toddler, but I also think we were comparing that to him when he was a baby it was really hard. We used to say, oh, he's not difficult, but he's not easygoing. But looking back, it was like, no, that was a really hard time. He was a horrendous sleeper. He woke every 45 minutes. We turned to co-sleeping. And so when he became a toddler, he was, just pretty easygoing. And parenting was, much like I'd read some books and I thought, yep, I've got my scripts, I've got my things ready to go. And it was really not until he was kind of a full-on toddler doing his own things that I realized the way that my ex was responding to him became quite triggering for me, and that I was really the one struggling through that time. So like many people, I stumbled my way to connected parenting and thankfully came to it pretty early on in my parenting journey. But it was from really where I was with my mental health more than anything that got me to that point.
Mm-hmm. And so what were the daily interactions like? What was happening to you in the hard moments?
Yeah. So I was certain that when I became a parent, I mean, initially I didn't want to be a parent. It honestly looked too hard.
Yeah.
It looked too hard.
It is.
I saw my siblings. It's very hard. I saw my siblings. I know how I was parented. And I just thought, nope, that's too hard. Why would anyone make the choice to do that to themselves? But I met my husband at the time, and I knew he wanted children, and who knows if it was sort of biological clock or what, but I then decided, I really want to have kids, but I was going to do it, quote unquote, the right way. I was going to get the right books. I was going to follow the perfect set of instructions. In my head, there was a formula to apply, and I was going to apply it, and it was going to work out the equation every time.
Oh,
that was
yes, it
what I was
is,
going through.
Cammie. Only if you're living in Never Never Land.
Yeah. And then my Archie came along. He was like, yeah, if you think that that's going to be how it plays out, it's not. But I had the scripts ready to go, and I went into parenting with a lot of confidence. And I fell in love with being a mother. And I also was dealing with some hurt around the way that I was parented,
Mhm.
and sort of not feeling loved the way, even a little person should be loved. So it was just so incredible to love this human to the degree that I did, because it was, at the time, it just felt so overwhelming. And it almost was scary how much I loved this little person.
Yeah.
And so I loved motherhood. I loved it. Even the hard bits I loved. And so a daily interaction, I was home full time with Archie, and we would, have moments where we were interacting together that I didn't realize was special time playing out, but it was. And I was connecting with him, and we had a good relationship, and it was going well for us. Like I said, he was just kind of in general a pretty easygoing toddler,
Mhm.
but I saw a lot of resistance that was coming up between him and his dad. And it was those interactions that was super triggering to me. And it would be simply, he'd be making a mess, and there was a lot of trying to control the situation, and sometimes a lot of blame towards me around, why are you letting him do this? Why are
Right.
you? And I really internalized that, much the way I did when I was a child.
Mhm.
It felt like Archie's behavior was an extension of my own inner child.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how that happens? It's like you don't think about your inner child for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you have a child and it all comes rushing to the forefront
All
and
comes
yeah,
rushing back.
comes
And
crashing down.
I often tell people I thought I was fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Here I am. I've escaped the turmoil of my childhood, where I wasn't allowed to say things, or I didn't feel listened to. Um, I was a productive member of society. And so in my mind, I'm fine. I'm completely
Yes.
fine.
Yeah, I think so many people feel the same way that you're describing. I know I did too. Like I did 10 years of therapy. I got over my childhood. I, reconciled with my parents. I whatever, but it didn't seem to matter because that unearthing during parenting is so poignant, so sharp that we all need support and help around it.
And it's not talked about either. It's not talked about. Not only are you going to become a parent, but you're also going to become a parent to yourself as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to reconcile with some things there. And it is not talked about at all.
No. Well, people do say you should do reparenting, but when I heard that, I was like, oh, I did that already. I did reparenting. I worked on my childhood for 10 years in therapy. Like I'm okay. For some reason, it wasn't in context enough.
That's right. And there's something so visceral when that baby comes out and is put on your chest. And it's like, whoa, there's an experience that happens that you can't put it into that context until you're at that point.
Yeah.
But I think if there's an awareness around it, then it at least keeps us knowledgeable that, okay, this might be something I experience. A bit like the baby blues. Like we all know, maybe
Yeah.
you'll have the 3-day baby blues. I didn't experience that, but I at least knew it could happen. So you knew what you could do, or resources. And we just don't talk about this. So I was just thrown into this space of anxiety, and I felt like I was a kid again. I was feeling deeply shamed. I was feeling shamed. It wasn't, my partner who was making me feel that. It was just bringing up all of those feelings from when I was a child, and I was ashamed, and I was scared, and I didn't feel like I had a voice. And so I turned to therapy, and I was really looking to, help 30 something me, because I need help. And reality, it was my inner child, who needed to be listened to. He needed to be healed. And it sounds a bit woo woo, I think, but that experience was so cathartic and so meaningful and so healing that now as a parent, I literally do visualize myself as a child that I'm also parenting myself in those hard moments in particular.
It seems like almost, I mean, for me, like you said, cathartic. Sometimes when I give my kids the empathy that I so desperately needed when I was a kid, when I can give it to them, not every time. Sometimes I don't want to give it to them, but sometimes when I give it to them, I can feel myself healing a tiny bit.
Yeah. Well, and I said in one of the groups, I said, sometimes when I'm repeating a mantra, I'm not always repeating it to them. I'm repeating it to myself.
Yeah,
And I'm saying, I'm here. You're safe and I'm here. And it sometimes is actually just helping me
for Cammie.
be there
Yeah,
for little Cammie.
that's so cute. We're going to take a break from our show to hear from our sponsors. Without their sponsorship, I wouldn't be able to bring you this incredible show free of charge. So I'll see you back in a few minutes. Hey there, if you need a little help getting your kids the daily vitamins they need, I've got something to share that will help you as we all head back to school, and it fits easily into your morning routine. Between packing lunches, ensuring everyone's homework, and then navigating the morning hustle, getting our kids to take their vitamins can be a challenge. Well, let me introduce you to my new morning lifesaver, Little Critters Gummy Vitamins. Even my teenage daughters love them. Most kids think they're having a special treat, but I know they get the essential nutrients their growing bodies need. It's peace of mind for me and total yum for them, even if they don't admit it. Did you know Little Critters is the pediatrician recommended kids multivitamin gummy brand? It's true. And it's the perfect stress-free way to kick off the day. So why not make your mornings a little smoother? Shop Little Critters Gummy Vitamins now and start your school year off with a smile. Shop now at the link in the show notes. This episode is sponsored by ByHeart. ByHeart is on a mission to make the best infant formula in the world. They use a patented protein blend that gets closest to breast milk. It includes alpha-lac, the most abundant protein found in breast milk, and lactoferrin, the number one protein found in colostrum. ByHeart's easy-to-digest formula and patented protein blend includes prebiotics and an 80-20 whey-to-casein ratio, just like in early breast milk, which is tailor-made for a newborn's digestive system. ByHeart is made with certified, clean ingredients, plus it has no soy, corn syrup, GMOs, or palm oil. Curious about ByHeart? Redeem your welcome offer at byheart.com/podcast with code PEACE. It's available for a limited time, so don't miss out. That's byheart.com/podcast with code PEACE, because every baby deserves the best start. Okay, back to the show. The other thing I just wanted to get to more to the connected parenting piece too. Like, when did you find the connected parenting and how did that help you put everything together?
So I found it through the process of healing myself and connecting with myself. And I had some really cathartic experiences where I would be playing with Archie and having special time. And I would just have this visual of 8-year-old me. For some reason, she's always about 8, and she would be there too. And it was just such a different experience that instead of holding my breath and trying not to let someone hear me playing, because you weren't meant to be playing, you were meant to be doing some other task. And so, but it was just joining in on that. Um, and so I began to look into, is it John Siegel, his work, Dr. Siegel, his work.
Dan.
Yes, Dan Siegel. That's right. That's what it is. I found his work. There's an author in Australia. Her name is Pinky McKay, and I followed her. I really enjoyed Janet Lansbury's podcasts around, Unruffled, around toddlers and really letting them kind of have free will and hold space for them. And so I found those things. And then ultimately that led me to peace and parenting. I think it sort of naturally came up in the algorithm.
Yep, of
And
course.
there was
Lucky
something
me.
about that content that really resonated. And I think I was focused on kind of toddler Archie. And this helped me look further down the road of what really is our relationship? It's not about this moment. This moment's going to pass really quickly, but staying connected through our entire relationship. And that's going to shift. It's going to look different over time, but always coming back to connection. And so I gobbled up your podcasts and your content on Instagram. And it was just, and that ultimately led me to being part of the groups. And here we are, got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. And Archie is a sensitive, strong willed, sweet. Oh, he's just the kindest, and he has big feelings. And I often say that sometimes the parenting that I enjoy the most are the hardest moments, because it's allowing me to hold that space for him and myself, and be there and have that empathy. And
Yeah.
I see him hold that space for his little sister, not all the time, but at times, and saying, oh, she's having big feelings, and recognizing it.
You know what I think is so interesting that you said, and I've been talking about this lately a lot in group and stuff, is that when we say connection or connective parenting or special time or like all these ideas around connection, people are under the impression that it's all roses and all like, oh yeah, I'm just connecting with my kids. I'm just here and I'm talking to you and I want to know how you feel. And it's like, yeah, maybe that's part of it. But I like what you said, that you enjoy it most in the hard moments. And I feel the most connected when my kids are going through a tantrum, when my kids are having huge upsets, when my kids are off the rails being jerks. Like, I know in those moments, we're going to form a deep connection here because, well, if I can, I'm not losing it. I'm not chastising. I'm not punishing. Where those hard moments, they create a schism or chasm in parenting, in conventional parenting. In connected parenting, it actually creates connection.
But and I, as you were saying that, I was thinking, isn't that case for all relationships? Think about your adult relationships,
Yep.
where when you bond with someone, it's often through
Hard
sharing
moment.
a hard moment, and someone that you can be vulnerable with. And so them bringing their most vulnerable upsets to you, and the fact that they're sharing that with you. I always, anytime Archie shares something with me that's hard, I say, oh, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Thank you for trusting me to bring that. And just being there for them, it means so much. And
Yep. And beautiful lessons are learned too.
exactly. So I feel really fortunate that I did find this early on. And even though it's something that I throw everything into, and being connected, I still make mistakes. I still have moments where I lose my cool and
Yeah.
I raise my voice. And then that's that just another opportunity to reconnect and say,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And, I'm working on this. And then to have them come back and say, I understand, mom, and I
Yeah.
understand. And
There's so
it's
many
okay.
moments that are ripe for connection that I don't think people really realize. Like the moment your child starts sharing something with you and you can be quiet and listen. The moment your kid is screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs and throwing a fit in their room is a moment for connection. Like your kid's being sassy and we don't like it, but if you can hold space for the sassiness, allow them to feel remorse, and then they come with the apology. That's genius. Like there's so many incredible moments that happen in connection that I don't think people truly realize.
And the fact that you can apply it not just in the relationships with your children, the relationships that you have with others. And recently, we live near my brother at the moment. My niece has been coming over a lot, but we're going to be moving further away soon. And she was trying to come up with all these ideas of how we could stay closer, and it was, she was really struggling. And I just paused and I said, oh, it's really hard that we're moving further away, isn't it?
Good for you. You sat
Because
into the upset. And people will be like, "Don't say that to her. Don't make her mad. Don't make her upset."
she was already upset trying to come up with all these different ways, and it was like, it's not about the solution. It's coming from a place of, it's really hard that we're moving further away. We've loved this time together and being close, and that feels that. I'm like, I'm sad too.
Yeah, we get to be sad and we get to mourn. We don't have to fix every moment. I love that. That's so sweet.
But I feel like, getting to that place where it then applies
Yeah.
to all of your relationships, because isn't that what it's about? And I think sometimes we forget that these little people are full people. They're underdeveloped in their brains, but they're full people.
Yeah. Well, they have fully developed limbic systems, which I didn't really know. They have fully developed emotionality,
Yeah.
which is crazy, but they don't have fully developed reasoning, which is
That's right. The
a hard
reason.
combination.
And keeping it online and knowing,
Yeah.
how can you respond when it's offline? And I just think these are full people and they deserve to be treated like full people.
Tell me about the group. What are you thinking of the group? How do you enjoy it? You're in the Connected Parent Mastermind, which is our group coaching program. Tell us about it.
I love it. And I was a little bit like, oh, what am I going to get out of this? Because it's something I feel really comfortable. I feel really comfortable in this space. I feel really connected with my kids. And there is something that comes out of every group. And also being able to hold space for other parents.
Yeah.
Is also really rewarding. Like you get so many, not just the practical tips, of being able to, yeah, okay, maybe I'll try that. But just that camaraderie, that being able to relate to one another, that you're not alone. You're not alone in this parenting business. It's so hard. I mean, I was correct in thinking it was too hard. It is so hard.
Yeah.
And then when you come with parents who are at the beginning of this work, in the middle, at the end, bringing that all together and realizing we're really all in the same, we all love for our children and wanting to connect with them. And it's just a special group. And I also love that there are parents with older kids. That's something that hearing their stories and that it's never too late is really important. And I think that everyone should hear that.
I think so too. I think a lot of people say to me, well, I don't really want to be in group with people who are teens. We don't have the same problems. I'm like, it's such an important story for you to hear. It's such an important journey for you to see if you have small kids. And if you have teens, it's also such an important journey for you to see these young people doing it differently and really grasping those ideas, because what we use with our teens is actually the same exact things that we use with our toddlers. It really is.
Exactly. And that and I was just thinking about, in one of the groups that came up and somebody was talking about their older parent or their older child, and that, is this too late? And I was just able to share that if one day my parents were to come to me, here I am in my late 30s, if they were to come to me and say, I'm sorry, I know that they were doing the best they could with what they knew at the time. But if they were to come to say, knowing what I know now, I wish I could have done differently. And here I want to have a stronger relationship with you and connect with you, what that would mean. Like it's never too late. And I think that's been really important. So yeah, I love the groups. Everyone in there.
Them too. I love them too. They're so lovely. And if anyone else is interested, I'll put the link in the show notes for folks. But it's the Connected Parent Mastermind. Cammie, what do you have to say to anyone who's starting this parenting journey? What's your advice? What's your words of wisdom?
My words of wisdom, I sort of think the hard moments can be the best moments. So try not to go, oh no, we're headed into tantrum, trying to find that at the end, you might find a really strong connection. And also look for little moments of love. I find that is something that's really important with my kids. Is just anytime I sort of feel like, oh, we haven't done something, I just go up and touch their arm, go up and, give them a kiss on the head, that little reminder that there's always love, and so it's almost like little mini moments of special time that you can give them, I think can add up to be really valuable.
Sweet. Yes. The thumb war, the staring contest, the I spy, the asking for a hug in the middle of a tantrum or an upset or a hard moment. So good. Yeah. I love that. That's so sweet. Cammie, thanks for being part of our community. Also, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for having this program. It's been remarkable to be part of.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Peace and Parenting podcast, and we'll see you all next time.